everyone to our new YouTube channel. Well, I guess it was
Not
already there.
Really new. It kind of already existed.
But we're actually going to put videos on it now.
Revamping, if you will.
Yeah. So we've renamed it DNA Productions. This is our first official episode.
Official, if you want to call it that.
We actually recorded a test run episode,
Yes,
but
bad.
After watching it, I was like, it's not fit for public consumption. So instead, we decided we'd just surprise you guys with our first movie review.
Yeah.
And it's going to be now in video format.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Although I believe for the time being, we will publish DNA Film Wars, the podcast.
And depending on this, I mean, we might be able to just edit the audio and put this out as an audio track too on like pod hosting services for people that don't want to watch it on YouTube or something like that. So.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't want to watch us.
I mean,
but,
come on now.
I mean, but yeah, I'll look into that as I struggle to learn how to edit video. It's going to be a process.
It's going to be a process, especially on some questionable internet at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, really questionable. Everybody and their damn dog is on the intranet. So, everybody's fighting for bandwidth. Nobody's
You're telling
getting
me.
ahead.
You're telling me.
But anyway, so today we have decided that since we decided to start this channel during the period when there are absolutely no movies coming out,
might as well.
We thought we would do something a little fun. We do plan on reviewing Dune.
If it comes out at the end of the year.
If it comes out at the end of the year. So we decided that what if we went back
and did
a major sci-fi movie from each
every
decade, starting with the 50s through now.
Yeah. So it'll be a fun series. It's gonna be roughly what have we figured out now? 6 episodes so far.
50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s.
7 episodes. So we're gonna start out. Today is gonna be War of the Worlds from the 50s.
That's right.
The next episode we're gonna be doing is gonna be over the quintessential sci-fi film of all time, 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick. 70s we decided on.
Close Encounters.
And then the 80s, we decided on Dune.
We'll do Dune because...
Maybe not the quintessential sci-fi movie of the 1980s. But
definitely not, but...
Dune's coming out this year probably, so that's the one we gotta talk about. The 90s, we decided on...
Independence Day.
That's a great one. And then the 2000s, we're going to do Avatar. And then 2010s, we decided on Denis Villeneuve's Arrival.
Arrival, yep, so...
And then depending on how much longer this goes on... Or depending on what the situation is, maybe we can find some more to do. We can go back and find another movie from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Go back to the 40s? Just kidding.
Go back to the 40s and the 30s and the 20s.
Do another series to another, relating to another movie that we plan on reviewing
maybe
when theaters reopen.
Maybe Bond. Maybe we could do...
Oh, no, there's too many Bond movies.
There's maybe not all the Bond movies, but we could do like...
Now, I'm a completionist, so
I know you're a completionist. If we're going to start Bond, we could do all the Craig ones, all the Daniel Craig ones.
Maybe.
Leading up, but... Lots to talk about. It just depends on how this all goes. So.
But anyway, we're. I think we should probably go ahead and get into our movie.
We should probably talk about this. Has a different grading scale than DNA Film Wars.
Oh yeah, before we jump into it, yes, we have. If you've listened to DNA Film Wars, we do a star system, so 1 to 5 stars. We decided we'd simplify it a little bit for our video channel. We are gonna do a binary choice. So
yeah.
We sat here and brainstormed for about 5 minutes today, and our production assistant Andrew,
he kind of came up with it. So
he came up.
Not really, kind of. He did. No. We were all Aaron and I were stuck. We were like, yeah, no.
I was like, skip it, see it or skip it, and they're like, nah. I was trying to come up with some kind of play on DNA, like ditch it, but I couldn't come up with anything for an A. So Andrew came up with, what was it?
Purchase and worthless. They
Purchase and worthless. Rhyme? Yeah, kind of right. Kind of, sort of. Sounds similar.
Close enough.
So
obviously it's all tentative, and we could change it any time that we wanted to.
So we're gonna run with that for now.
Purchase or worthless.
Purchase or worthless.
So at the end, when we decide whether or not we like this movie or not, we'll decide whether or not it's worth the purchase.
We watched it for free.
Whether or not it's worth the purchase of. Later on down the road, maybe the purchase of a ticket price or purchase of it on home video or to rent it on some sort of streaming services.
Yeah.
Granted, this one's free.
Yeah.
So is it worth the free time that you put in it?
If you want to pause this video here and watch the film, you can find it for free on Pluto TV,
Crackle.
and there was one other one.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Nobody knows what that is.
Yeah, Pluto TV or Crackle, either one. I mean, you got to watch ads, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
So, but anyway, let's talk about our movie this week. It's the 1953 War of the Worlds, directed by Byron Haskin.
Yep. This screenplay was written by Barry Lyndon.
Yeah,
Obviously based on the novel by H.G. Wells.
That's right. Neither of us have read that, I'm
I
assuming.
have not. No.
Okay, I have not either. And starring Gene Barry and Anne Robinson.
Yeah.
So this film, you had not seen it prior.
I've not seen it, no.
All right, so have you seen the Tom Cruise?
I've seen the
Spielberg
2005
version?
Tom Cruise version. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah. So what were you expecting coming into this film?
I mean, I was expecting about what I got. I was expecting, a pretty standard 50s sci-fi action kind of movie, with quite a bit of horror elements in there too. It's kind of very very tense at times, and a lot of screaming from lots of women.
Yeah. Well, not really.
One woman. She screams a lot. She's very terrified throughout the movie. But basically what I got, definitely a very standard 1950s sci-fi horror kind of thing.
Yeah.
With actually, some pretty decent characters, pretty decent design on some alien ships. Of course, different than the original book from what I understand, and definitely different from the version from the 2005 one with Tom Cruise, where they're like these giant pods on large tripod legs.
Yeah.
From what I read, they pitched that and they actually talked to some military officials, and they were like, yeah, being that it's the 50s, tripods don't really scare people, so maybe try something else. And they settled on the flying saucer type things that they are in this movie, which is fine with me. I mean, I like them. So.
Yeah, and of course, this is not the first adaptation of this.
No.
There was a radio show in 1938.
Hosted by Orson Welles, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't know. Was it?
I think it was.
I'm not sure. Anyway, but they ended up getting in trouble over that because there were a lot of people who thought it was real and we were actually being invaded by aliens. I think there's actually kind of a reference to it in this movie. There's a montage of people sitting by the radio listening.
Apparently that guy is the radio host that's supposed to be announcing in the movie. He is known for doing a Orson Welles impression. That's why they put him in the movie.
That's right, bro.
So...
Yeah, but yeah, I have seen this before. I've seen it a couple times before. It's been a while though. I didn't remember all the nitty-gritty details. Yeah. But I think you're right. If you could distill like 50 sci-fi down into one movie, all the tropes and everything, this would be about it. This probably helped to kind of set some of those tropes and everything. But no, so I mean, let's kind of start.
I could definitely see how this movie was also provided a lot of inspiration for other filmmakers down the road. So, Steven Spielberg definitely being one of them. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
So let's just kind of start off, I guess. So the movie opens with a montage of like World War I and II in black and white, and then it cuts to the credit or the title, War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds. And
then the credits, and then it gives us an astronomy lesson. It tells you immediately like where the aliens come from, which I think this if I'm not mistaken, again I haven't read the book. If I'm not mistaken, this opening monologue is pretty much taken right out of the novel, and it tells you they're from Mars, and
they essentially tried to like find a planet that they could invade, but no planet had the right conditions besides Earth, so they kind of went through all the planets explaining why they couldn't invade that planet, what was wrong with its atmosphere, what was wrong with its land conditions and stuff like that, or certain planets were too close to the sun or whatever, and that Earth was, as it is, the Goldilocks planet as it's called, just perfect for them.
Yeah, that's right. So after we get a long history of the planets or description of the planets, we get to Earth, and I like period pieces.
Yeah.
Let me say that I like films that are actually made in the periods to which they're trying to portray.
Yeah.
And so, it's very interesting, I think, to go back and watch these 50 movies and see, like the cars they drive, the clothes they wear,
how they act, how they talk,
Yeah.
and the kind of entertainment that they're a part of, or
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. So
And this movie is set in a rural town, or at least the first part of it is, the first half
in
or so.
Cali,
In California, I'm assuming north. Well, it says around.
they're
Los
talking about
Angeles.
USC, so somewhere in
the
probably
Southern
SoCal.
California, yeah. So, anyway, so they go and they do a square dance, and it is kind of interesting. This movie is very much in 50s fashion. It's not heavy on plot.
No, it's
There's-
definitely more about the like a lot of the monster movies we watch. They're more about the spectacle.
Yeah,
Doesn't
and
get the action.
doesn't get bogged down in subplot. I mean, there
Yeah.
really isn't any subplots. There's just the
The
aliens
plot.
are invading, and there are two characters that we follow, but at the end
Our
of the
doctor
story,
and the lady that he's with the whole time.
yeah, Dr. Forrester
and then
Miss Van
Miss
Buren,
Van Buren, yeah.
and I mean, they're the characters that we kind of follow through the story. I mean, at the end of the story, they're not very important.
Not
What
really.
they do
Mostly
is not
about
very
the
important.
mostly about the alien invasion for about the last 20 minutes or so. So
Yeah, so I mean, but the aliens, they show up about 20 minutes into the movie, or well, I'll say when they their first attack with the military.
yeah,
I think it's about 20 minutes into the movie. We see them first. They arrive and they kill some country, or some of the town folk,
some of the town folk.
and then they go on a rampage, and there's more of them coming down, and they're attacking the world.
Yeah.
And, I'll say that this film, I think that the effects are for a 50s film.
For 50, they're great actually.
They're pretty darn good.
I think there's only one shot that I thought was a little rough, and it's a matted shot with like a city in front, and the alien like pod ship things like flying behind it, and it's a little rough.
Yeah. But for the most part, I think the rear projection
for,
shots
for
and
1953, yeah, the
matting
matting and
shots
rear
and,
projection is all done really well.
The rays and laser beams and stuff. I mean,
And there's a lot of matte paintings in this as well,
Yeah.
especially in the beginning of the film that are all painted very well.
they look very realistic.
Very
for the
realistic.
time.
Obviously you can tell it's a painting because
Yeah.
it's 2020 and
Yeah.
we're not blind.
Yeah, it's
Um,
streaming in HD on
Streaming
Pluto
in HD
TV.
on Pluto.
Pluto.
Pluto. But yeah, I mean, but they look really good, especially for 1953, which I guess we're probably gonna say that a lot for 1953.
For 1953, I think this movie. I mean, it holds up really well. I think for the most part. I mean, obviously,
I always like going back and watching stuff like this, and I've gotten a chance to watch a lot of stuff like this, older like sci-fi or monster flicks from around this time frame. Watching tons of Godzilla movies with you on our other podcast, Stop This Way.
Yeah.
So I kind of like going back and watching some of these older ones, seeing how people acted differently back then than compared to how actors portray themselves and present themselves nowadays. It's definitely a completely different time. So.
Yeah. And this film, I mean, it's not perfect. It does have some of the, along with all the positive 50s tropes that I enjoy, it does have some of the negative ones. This one, I'm not going to say it really gets bogged down in a lot of boardroom scenes and stuff.
No, not like
But
some of the
there are-
Godzilla films that we've
But
watched.
there are a couple of scenes where it's, just military officials and stuff sitting around
Yeah.
talking and stuff, and those scenes kind of drag. And then the climax of this film is really just Dr. Forrester running around to a bunch of different churches in Los Angeles while the aliens
are just destroying the
and
town.
trying to find Miss Van Buren.
Yeah.
And he finds her, although I'm sitting here thinking, like, how many churches could there's got to be like 1 million churches in downtown Los Angeles, but
I don't know anything about downtown LA, so
I mean, I don't either, but
especially not in 1953.
he stumbles, he does find her, and because they've been separated because the people have been rioting.
He's sent her out on a bus with a bunch of
Yeah.
people trying to get them to safety, and
Yeah.
he takes this truck with some supplies that they need to supposedly defeat the
Yeah.
aliens, and he drives down this city street and gets attacked by a mob, pretty much like yanked out of his car.
Yeah, and kind of eerie considering the situation we're in now. Maybe this is what we'll be like in 2 weeks. But, no, in all seriousness, no. I mean, I will say that the set, I'm assuming that was filmed on a sound stage.
I imagine, yeah.
It looks good, and then all the models they built for like the aliens to blow up and stuff, they look good.
Definitely definitely compare very well to some of the Japanese monster movies we watched. Some of those have some great model work, and this definitely competes, if not better. So.
And this has, I mean, frankly, this film has higher production values than most of
it's definitely got the production budget. I'm sure was probably more than some of those monster movies we watch for the time, and then
definitely more.
The production quality and the production design are all top notch. I mean, this movie's in color, and it came out the year before Godzilla, which is in black and white, and the effects are not quite up to par. But
the color. Speaking of the color, I think Technicolor did a great job. I think the colors are very bright and vibrant and very engaging.
Of course, it's 2020. We're watching it in HD.
Yeah, it's true that. But no, I think the color palette's very good for this film.
Definitely good.
I think you said that there was like they were 20 wires.
Yeah, I read that there was like around 20 wires per like flying alien warship thing.
Yeah.
Some of which were just to hold it up. Some of which provided movement. Some were just running to provide power because they didn't have small wires and stuff like that, or remote controls to control these things in 53. So
I'd say they did a very good job hiding the wires. I
didn't really ever catch any.
And
I've definitely caught some in a lot of Godzilla films.
Yeah, so. I think, and the design is, I mean, at least by today's standards, pretty basic. Alien kind of saucer stuff,
flat bottom and a dome top kind of thing
with a little like telescope looking thing. But I think it looks effective for what it is.
It does a good job. I like it. I like the face of it has these big bright green lights, kind of like eyes almost. But I like it a lot. I think that they look good.
The design of the aliens themselves. I mean,
very. This is where I want to talk about Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg definitely drew a lot of inspiration from the look of these aliens. They are very ET like.
They do. I thought of ET.
A Simon in the middle of their face.
Yeah, that's right.
Minus one of the colors, but it's like it's like red, green, and blue minus the yellow one, I guess. So, but essentially a Simon, like right in the middle of their face.
Yeah. But the one alien that we get a good look at, I thought he was designed very well.
Yeah, he looks good. He's kind of short and stocky.
Yeah,
and he's got these weird long arms with like 3 finger things, and they have little
like suckers
on them. Yeah, and then like I said, the Simon in the middle of his face.
Yeah,
but. I like him. Definitely reminds me a lot of E.T., and I think that's probably where Spielberg probably drew a lot of his inspiration.
I can't imagine not. I mean, the skin tone is basically
almost the same. Yeah,
definitely.
And the fingers, had you taken the little sucker things off of them? And same thing.
Little, like the shape of the face, kind of E.T.'s face, kind of looks like theirs. But and then we get we have the resolution, the ending of this film that is probably the most famous part that everybody knows that. They're killed by the germs. If this movie came out today, I think a lot of people would throw a lot of criticism at it, or at least film critics would, because the ending of this film virtually renders anything the human characters in this film do completely useless, worthless.
Yeah.
But obviously there was the end of H.G. Wells' novel. I think it is actually quite poetic, the way that they pull. I mean, it's just the narrator telling you what has happened, but I think it is actually kind of poetic, I
like it a lot.
I like it, how they threw everything they had, including the most powerful nuclear bomb ever.
It still didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything, but it was killed by the smallest creatures God put on Earth, or whatever he says.
Yep.
Of course, I remember the Futurama joke where it's like, have you seen the Futurama episode where they're watching TV and he's like, at the end, the aliens were defeated by the most humble of all of God's creations, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. And it has a Tyrannosaurus Rex wrecking the spaceship.
I've actually never seen any episodes of Futurama.
Oh my god, that was fun. That is one of my favorite Futurama jokes. But no, I think the ending of this film.
I think it's really good. It's definitely a book that I'd be willing to check out sometime to see how it compares.
I think I bought it.
You have it, don't you?
I think I bought it just the other day at Books A Million. I plan on reading it eventually, but
after you get through the Wheel of Time.
I might. Yeah, I don't plan on binge reading all 14 or 16 novels or whatever the Wheel of Time. So I might take a break between this one and the next one and read this novel and see how it compares. I don't even think I've actually ever read an H.G. Wells novel, if I'm being totally honest.
I don't know. Apparently, I read also where H.G. Wells' estate was very pleased with how this movie turned out and allowed the producers to have whatever pick of any H.G. Wells property they wanted. And so the next film that I think that they chose to, the producers and creators of this film chose to make was The Time Machine. H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. So
I haven't watched that one. Maybe we'll check it out.
Check that one out too. So
But I think we've pretty much covered everything as far as this film is concerned. You want to
give it a score?
give it a purchase or worthless?
A purchase or worthless? All right, what do you think? Purchase or worthless?
Purchase or worthless? Worthless. I think this is definitely worth the purchase, especially considering it's free to stream. So you don't have to purchase anything, really. But no, I definitely think it's worth it. I mean, I love classic 50s, 60s sci-fi films. I mean, it's like one of my favorite eras and genres of film. I've seen crap ton of sci-fi movies, and I think this one is definitely, if you can imagine a 50s style sci-fi film in your head, this is pretty much exactly what you're going to think about.
Definitely.
I think it's done very well. I think it's paced very well especially considering it's a 50s movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's got action pretty much, for the entire 90-minute runtime.
Yeah.
I mean, it does pause every once in a while to have a boardroom scene, or for our two characters to have a romantic moment or whatever. Although the romantic tension is just not there, chemistry is just not there. But I'll let that go. I think the actors or really there's only two important actors. Which we said earlier. I've already forgot their names. But, I think they do well. I mean, the actress, she kind of reminds me of Judy Garland.
Yeah,
probably because the hairstyle.
And then the main actor reminds me, especially when he has his glasses on, reminds me a lot of like a more serious Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, a much more serious Jeff Goldblum.
Not near as goofy.
But no, I think they do a good job.
Definitely.
I don't think this movie is campy, but it's not.
At the time, I don't think it would have been campy. To us, it's campy because we've seen a lot of movies now, but for the time, had you gone into a theater in 1953 to sit down and watch this, you probably would have had your mind blown. Probably,
yeah. It'd probably been quite impressive. But I still think today, if you can take it with the campy sci-fi fun level of it and enjoy the destruction and just the throwback vibe of it, I guess, I think this is a lot of fun. I think holds up much better than the 2005 film by Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg. So... but no, I definitely think this is worth a watch, especially if you like the sci-fi genre at all.
Definitely, I agree with you. I think it's definitely worth a quote unquote purchase or free stream, if you will, or if they ever like try to do like a re-release in theaters or something like that, like a Fathom event.
No, I'd
pay to go watch it. Yeah. It's definitely a fun time. It definitely has that very 50s vibe for a sci-fi film. If, like you said, if you could think and imagine a 50s sci-fi film in your head, this would be what it would look like. Aliens, small town kind of feel, and some sort of alien or giant monster comes in and attacks, and we have a couple central characters that we focus on that are trying to defeat it. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. In this one, technically they don't. It gets defeated by other things, but it's definitely a really fun time. It holds up, I think, very well for a movie that's going on 70 years old.
Yeah, 53. It would have been 70 in 2023. It'll be 70.
2023 will be 70, going on 70 years old. So definitely holds up really well. The story is pretty well paced for the most part, minus a couple like you said, military scenes here or there where they're just kind of sitting around talking. But for the most part, well paced, decent action throughout. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I like the design of the UFO ship things, whatever you want to call them, but and the aliens themselves. But definitely holds up really well. I enjoyed it quite a bit, especially for a first time watch. I'd definitely be willing to watch it again. So definitely worth the watch if you got nothing better to do. It's an hour and 30 minutes. Check it out.
Yeah, we're here. Apparently, we're all going to be stuck inside for the next foreseeable future, so might as well check it out.
Day 6 of the outbreak.
Day 6 of the outbreak. We are running dangerously low on toilet paper. But no, in all seriousness. Well, I guess that concludes our discussion of our first movie. I guess next time you see us here on this channel, we'll be discussing 2001 A Space Odyssey. So I'm definitely excited about that.
Sci-fi film.
The sci-fi film, a lot of people would say. So if you enjoyed this, obviously, you can click the link down below to subscribe to our channel.
Yep.
You'll be one of the first people to get to...
Technically, we have 10 subscribers and about 40 videos uploaded, but...
Yeah, but those are...
Videos.
Those are only audio files only.
Yeah, but also if you like listening to this or you like watching this, we have 2 other podcasts, one of which is DNA Film Wars, where we try to review a new release every month. At the time, it's not happening.
No.
But we are doing this to make up for that, as well as we're going to continue to post episodes of our Christopher Nolan series over there, where we're doing a retrospective over his whole filmography leading up to Tenet, maybe, if it comes out.
Maybe.
But we're going to continue to do that. So we have 2 episodes up already. Episode 3 is coming very shortly. Those are Following, Memento, and Insomnia. The next episode we're going to do is Batman Begins, so that'll be up shortly whenever we watch that, sometime in the next week or 2. So definitely keep a lookout for all those Christopher Nolan episodes. We also have another podcast, which is Aaron's Baby.
Stomp This Way, where we review a different monster film every week of the month, and or every week. I don't know why I said every week of the month.
It is what it is.
So if you enjoy old monster movies, you can go over there and listen to us.
Or newer monster movies.
Currently,
we're sitting in the Heisei era, so
Godzilla films. That's right. So anyway, thanks for watching, and
Absolutely.
I guess we'll see you next time.